Hello, welcome back to another episode of Nobody is Doing It Right, the podcast for those who are uncertain. My name is Kat. I am your host. I am one of these perpetually uncertain people. And today's topic is going to be about how there's nothing you could have done differently to make it work. This is something that I have to repeat to myself often because I'm sure many of us, we deal with a lot of insecurity when it comes to things that have not gone the way we wanted them to go in our lives. And currently I'm kind of going through this process of acceptance. That's like the current lesson I'm learning. So I'm leaning into that. And this is one thing that's actually, I learned this a long time ago, but it's so interesting how these lessons will like circle back to you. You don't fully learn something and then heal it and then you're good to go and that's it. It's like sometimes it takes a while to really understand these things, embody them, and like really bring them into your life and have some tangible change that happens in the way you show up and the way you perceive the world. So this is something that I'm kind of relearning again. And I feel like it is a valuable lesson and something that I want to share with anybody else who struggles with allowing themselves to just let things be and who maybe puts a lot of pressure on themselves to be the person that solves everything. Like you are the one that's in control of everything. You're the one that should have done this or should have done that, or it's because you didn't do this that this thing happened. I'm here to remind you that there's nothing you could have done differently. Sometimes things happen because they just happen. Sometimes it needs to happen this way. There might be a reason for it. Now, I'm not trying to disregard any sort of pain, suffering, or anything like that, obviously. Life is difficult. There's a lot of pain and suffering for a lot of people. So I'm not trying to say that, there's a reason for everything. There's always a reason for why things happen. No, sometimes things are just shitty. Life sucks. And there's no reason behind it. There's no greater good or greater purpose for it. But I do think there is some value, even in my own experience. And this is something that I've just kind of taken into my own life for me. So hopefully it resonates with anybody else. To look at these things that happen and try in some way to find any potential reason as to why. Why, if there's any reason at all that I can see potentially, why could this shitty thing have happened, right? And for me, it just allows me to be a little bit more mindful and maybe recognize potential lessons when I wouldn't have recognized it before. Again, this doesn't apply all the time. Again, I'm trying to be very mindful of how I speak about any sort of struggle because life sucks, again, like I said. So yeah, but I also feel like there is a bit of this like insecurity, this feeling that we have to be the one that controls everything. We have to do it all right. And, this stems from perfectionism, of course. I'm here to remind you and myself that there's nothing you could have done differently. This thing, however it unfolded, this relationship, this opportunity, whatever it was, there's nothing you could have done differently to make it work. How it happened is exactly how it needed to happen because it happened. And that's that. And I know that's really hard to truly like absorb. I deal with it all the time. I struggle with accepting this, but it has brought me a lot of peace. I'm not going to lie. Letting myself just experience something shitty, and just seeing it for what it's shitty. It sucks. I don't have to always have toxic positivity about everything. And no, it's not that bad. No, sometimes things suck. But it happened because that's what happened. And that's it. And I know that sounds so much easier said than done. But it does kind of take a bit of a burden off of your shoulders to be the person that solves everything, to be almost like a godlike figure in your life. Because I think that is a responsibility that many of us might take, especially those of us who maybe were raised in environments when we were children of feeling like we have to be mindful of everybody else's comfort, people pleasers, everything that everyone does is because of us. So we have to be different. We have to change how we interact to make them feel good. As you get older, and I've learned this for myself, for my own people pleasing, you realize that actually you don't have as much power and control as you think you do. And that's a good thing. It's actually a very freeing thing. It feels scary when you first realize this and you realize like, oh wow, life is just going to happen because it happens. And I have no say in it sometimes. It's actually freeing. It's freeing to recognize the things that you can control and the things you can't control. Because there are, of course, some things in life that you can control. And that's great. And we should be able to take those opportunities when we can. But I also feel like sometimes those of us who struggle with perfectionism won't take those opportunities either, right? Because we kind of, the lines between what we can control or can't control get blurred. So we don't really know what's worth us letting go of and what's worth us actually trying to change it and turn it into something that's beneficial for us. But yeah, there's many things in life that happen because they just happen. And it sucks. It's difficult to accept, but it is freeing. It's a good thing that you don't have as much control as you think you do. And one thing that my therapist always tells me in our sessions when I complain about these things, right? It's like, I should have done this. I should have done that. Like, I didn't do this. And that's why things are the way they are right now. I should have done this differently to make this person act this way. And she goes, stop shoulding all over yourself, which is really funny. It always makes me laugh in our sessions. But yeah, she's right. It is shoulding yourself. You're putting this burden on you of having this control or thinking that you have this control and all this power when you don't. And so there's no benefit to you to feel that way. It only holds you back. It keeps you stagnant. It keeps you in the past. And when you stay in the past, your present self can't move forward. There's no momentum gained. You're trying to drag your past along with you when that's not possible. That's not how you live life. You live life in the present moment through acceptance of what comes and what goes. And that's it. The past is done. And sure, you can take lessons away from the past, of course. I think that's really important. Seeing what happened and being like, you know what, maybe next time I'll try something different. Maybe next time. Maybe I'll do this. Or I learn now not to do that or to touch this or to whatever. Of course, take those with you. But holding on to the past and what you coulda, woulda, shoulda done and being angry at yourself for that and not having that level of forgiveness for yourself is not doing you any good. It's holding you back. It's not letting you fully experience life. And I think ultimately the point of life is to just experience it in the bad and the good because it's unavoidable. The bad is unavoidable. The good needs to come along with the bad. You can't experience good without bad, which sucks. Again, it's not fun. It's not easy to accept that. We would all love it if everything was amazing all the time. But it's not, and again, this is me talking to younger me who often felt like, no, everything needs to be right. Everything needs to be perfect. I need to be happy all the time. Otherwise my life is a failure. And it's like, no, the bad is part of a successful life, right? Ironically, experiencing the bad is you living life. And that is your purpose, is to just live life in its fullness, in whatever that looks like, seeing it for what it is, accepting that it happened that way and letting it go. And again, easier said than done. It's not easy to let things go. It's not easy to move on from things. So I'm not saying that we should all just, be super content and super happy with how things unfold because that's just how life is. That's, again, a bit of a toxic positivity take, which I don't like. I prefer, realism. I prefer optimistic realism. That's, I think, my brand. We do need to root ourselves in reality, but everyone's reality is different. And also you get to choose what parts of your reality you want to lean into a bit more. If you want to lean into the positive side, amazing, do that. You don't always have to lean into the negative, but sometimes, you can, and that's okay too. There's no right or wrong when it comes to your perception of things ultimately. It's just a matter of finding what works for you, what makes you feel good, and also doesn't harm other people at the end of the day. So yeah, there's nothing you could have done differently to make it work. It happened exactly as it needed to happen. And that's that. And that's a good thing because what happens next is exactly what needs to happen as well. And it kind of, saying this, for me at least, has helped me root myself in the present moment and really fully, bite into it like a juicy burger of like, this is what's happening. This is it. And it can be difficult if you struggle with anxiety like I do. Rumination, difficulty forgiving yourself, like I mentioned already. It can be hard to really root yourself in the present because the present doesn't feel real sometimes, ironically, right? Because the present is the only real thing. But if you're stuck in the past, if your mind is constantly ruminating or if it's constantly anxious and it's thinking about the future, those two things feel more real than the present. But ultimately, the present is the only thing that exists right now and you're in it. And this is it. And this is how it's happened. So to deny that holds you back from making decisions and choices and living the life you want to live, right? A life that's in some way enjoyable despite the circumstances, right? Finding something that can be at least a little bit pleasurable, even if something really bad or shitty has happened. So I hope this was helpful. Again, this was more of an episode where I just wanted to hopefully comfort somebody, give a bit of perspective if you are struggling with coulda, woulda, shouldas. You're looking back at something that you didn't do and you're regretting yourself for not doing it. Maybe the point was that you shouldn't have done that thing and it should have ended badly. And that's, now you've learned, right? Maybe that's the purpose of it. I don't know. I can't give you that answer, obviously. But that's how I look at it for myself, right? If there's something in my past, an opportunity that I didn't do in the way I think now I should have done it, yeah, it had to happen that way for me to realize that this is what I should have done. That's my lesson in a sense. But again, it's different for everybody. There's obviously a lot of nuance to this, but I think it's important to be able to kind of look at these things a bit more objectively and see it for what it actually is, and allow ourselves to fully embrace the present and say, you know what, it happened. It happened as it needed to. If it didn't happen that way, I wouldn't have learned this lesson. I wouldn't have seen what I needed to see from this person, from this opportunity, whatever. So that's great. It's actually great that it happened that way, even though, yeah, it sucks. It sucks that this didn't go my way, or this thing happened, or I had this negative consequence. It sucks. And also, I did gain some experience of this human life through this. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was comforting in some way or insightful for you. And I'll be back again next week with another episode.